Hello everybody and welcome to Stadium Australia. It's a beautiful winter's day in Sydney, a big crowd ensured for the second match in the series between Manchester United and the Australian Socceroos. Well, Manchester United brings to this country a reputation that very few clubs in world sport can match. Paul Wade working the match again with me. They're 2-0 up after Thursday night in Melbourne, and haven't they picked a very strong squad today?
Well, I mean, really, you could win the European Cup with this squad. If you had Roy Keane and David Beckham, you could definitely do that.
So 4 changes to the Manchester United team, numbers 6, 7, 9 and 11.
Yeah, it's good to see Dwight Yorke, Andy Kohler and Ryan Giggs. I mean, people have been screaming out for quality in attack. Well, I tell you what, if you had Nicky Butts firing from midfield, you can't get better than that.
Well, the Socceroos are going to have to be at their very best. We've made 2 changes, one brother for another in goal.
Yeah, it's very unusual. Jason's been there, done that before, so I don't think there'll be too many problems there. Interesting to see how he's changed Casey Weirman for Vinnie Grella in the midfield. He doesn't want the players to sit back, he wants them to attack this Manchester United team. Hopefully he will this afternoon. Beautiful conditions for it.
Well, the combination of a world-class team, an Australian opposition and the Olympic Stadium, it's going to be a great afternoon. Joining Paul Wade in commentary will be Paul Williams.
Simon Micallef is the man in charge of the match tonight. He's a Sydney-sider. It's a very big game for him, I'm sure. Knowing Simon as I do, he is as excited as the players are to be on the same pitch as Manchester United. And Aurelio Vidmar toiled long and hard the other night, very much a solo role in attack, but he'll have a bit more support today, Wadey, and that's exactly what he needs.
Yeah, dead right he does. I really need to prove that Raul Blanco does have that quality, that he could coach the Socceroos. There's been a lot of talk about everybody except that man on your screen, Raul Blanco. He's never had the top job. Can he influence those in power?
Well, the crowd goes up, and gee, the stadium's filled up enormously in the last just 10 minutes or so. Last minute patrons coming in. It's a very, very healthy crowd. Not quite familiar enough with the stadium to hazard a guess, but Lazaridis is on the park, importantly for Australia. It was a strange warm-up with Lazaridis not there, Andy Cole not there. There were all kinds of conjecture about who would be playing for Manchester United and Australia today. But certainly the Socceroos have seen that Manchester United are human beings, and they'll feel well pleased with their performance the other night and hope to further that here this afternoon. Well, we estimate that there's about 70,000 in the Olympic Stadium here so far, with a few still trickling in as Dwight Yorke just tries to lay the ball off. Well, certainly, Wadey, with the team changes that Manchester United have made today, you get the feeling that they've just upped the ante a couple of notches, and they've had an extra few days rest as well, so maybe we'll see even more from them tonight.
Yeah, I don't think they were happy at all. Mark Bosnich's made it quite clear in the media during the week that if the Socceroos were proud of their performance, it was probably one of the few times that they would be able to, as Manchester United, move up a gear, as you quite rightly said. They've got a reputation to protect. They haven't been beaten, and I'm sure you'll remind me of the date that the last time they were beaten.
23rd of December last year. It was Middlesbrough at Old Trafford. They lost at home, of all places. That in itself was an incredible upset, but no one's been able to upset them since. Perhaps the Socceroos, well, what an honour that would be if they could be the first side to beat Manchester United in 8 months. Hayden Fox well placed, just nodding it down to Tiato. A little bit of room for him to move. Vidmar comes short, then decides to go long, and Tiato and he not quite on the same wavelength with that ball. But I know Raul Blanco is delighted that his side has had an extra 3 days to work on their cohesion. And that's a lovely switch from Phil Neville to the fullback on the opposite side, Dennis Irwin. Salawisi in quickly. Weirman there as well, touching it back to Lazaridis. Well, already we can see that the surface is much better than on Thursday night. And a bit of space for Colosimo. Down the line goes Emerton. Bosnich. Great pressure. Good work from Australia. Aurelio Vidmar not giving Mark Bosnich any time to settle at all. And Raul Blanco gave his side some advice before the game that they were to pressure Manchester United as much as they possibly can. It's early stages in the game, but Frank Farina is on the touchline. And Frank, what are your thoughts on the opening couple of minutes that we've had?
Well, obviously it's still a settling period, I think, for both sides, just getting a feel of the surface itself. But I think, you know, it's a little bit early at this stage to see how things are going to turn out. But I think Australia have started reasonably confidently, and Manchester United, well, they're just waiting. You know, you never know when they're going to step it up.
Fox, great ball in behind. Aurelia Vidmar away from his marker, playing it across, and Bosnich had to come out very sharply indeed. And good news for Australia was Casey Wehrman was right on top of Bosnich as that cross came in, and that is the brief that he's been given.
Well, Raul Blanco said that he wasn't happy with a few things like closing the Man United players down. One thing he was happy was the amount of football they did play in tight areas, and that was another example of it.
There's danger for Australia, but Tiato is back there to help out, and Giggs wrestling with Wehrman.
You can be guaranteed that Casey Wehrman will not take a backward step to anybody. He will fight tooth and nail. I don't care what your name is, Ryan Giggs or not.
He doesn't have too much respect for reputations, Casey Wehrman. As Lazaridis not happy with that decision, the number 4, Mark Wilson. Well, it was there to be challenged for by both players. Tiato came out on top and also won the free kick. Fox over the ball. Tobin is forward. Scuffed it somewhat. And United break with Giggs, and backpedaling is Wehrman, and that's a great ball. Look at this, it's Dwight Yorke, it's broken for Andy Colbert. Jason Petkovic, grateful there. What an early test that was, seeing the likes of Dwight Yorke bearing down on you. He'll be pleased to get hold of that one. Well, Raul Blanco did say he was quite happy with the performance of Michael Petkovic on Thursday night. There's no blemish against him that he was replaced by his elder brother. I think it was somewhat of a wake-up call, really, for Jason Petkovic not being picked on Thursday night. He's a pretty laid-back character. And Aurelia Vidmar, brilliant ball, flags up. Gee, that must have been close.
Well, Danny Tiato is following his instructions to a T. He's playing a role in the midfield, but as often as possible, he's got to get himself forward. Really, Vidmar, great vision. Oh, a yard in it. Yapstam with his hand up.
Cruyff inside. That's a foul in the back of Dwight Yorke. Free on the left-hand side is Dennis Irwin, and a ton of room catching the Socceroos, just napping a fraction. They're back now, but here's Ryan Giggs. And no foul. And Wehrman on the ball. Irwin now finding Giggs out in space. Chance to run at the defence. Alex Tobin is there. And Giggs has got a little bit to say to Simon Micallef. Well, it was the first real opportunity for Ryan Giggs to take on a defender, which is his stock in trade. And he's still talking to Simon Micallef, the referee, saying that the challenge by Alex Tobin just caught his shin pads. Well, I guess you can't expect them to be shy about voicing their opinions. As Wehrman goes in very hard, out-muscled his opponents and earns a free kick. Well, he's such an all-round player, Casey Weirman. He can do the hard, tough stuff in midfield, but he's got a creative flair to his game as well. And we hope to see some more of that as the match progresses. Hayden Fox over the ball again. Let's see what he can come up with this time. Alex Tobin is in there. It's a good ball! Tobin across! Well, more encouragement for the Australian fans and the Australian team. Again, Tobin a focal point on the set piece. As we saw on Thursday night, he tried to play it across. It actually hit another Australian as he played that ball over. Now, Ross Aloisi, Tobin's at the near post. We saw the set piece the other day. Bosnich right underneath that one. And straight away, Giggs is on the halfway line. And let's cross to Frank Farina on the touchline. Giotto, I'll just get back to Frank Farina in a moment. We're in the 10th minute here at Stadium Australia, and it's a very even beginning to this afternoon's match. In contrast to Thursday night, where really Manchester United started by far the stronger of the two sides. They're just starting to put their game together now as we see that little passage of play, and Irwin finds Giggs free down the left-hand side. Cole's waiting in the centre. Giggs has got past his man but been fouled this time. Simon Colosimo. Well, it was a very sharp turn by Ryan Giggs. And Giggs will take the free kick. Takes it quickly. Near post was a very good idea for Nicky Butt coming in. Touch down the line nicely. Lazaridis, who will make ground very quickly indeed. He's got Emerton free. Vidmar was also free on the left, but he's offside. Well, here we see it, and rightly so. The ball had to be played just a fraction earlier than that. And Paul Wade, that is a couple of offsides have been just a little bit unlucky down that left-hand side. Particularly Australia have been impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you could see by that example how flat this back four is. When I say flat, I mean they're in a straight line right across the back, and it only needs one well-timed run from midfield, and you can break it, split it apart. The Aussies, on the other hand, at the other end, are being really troubled by that man on his screen right now, and what an impact he's made, and we've only been going a good 10 minutes. He really is tormenting that defence led by Alex Tobin.
Well, Giggs and Fox going shoulder to shoulder. And that week in, week out toughness that you have from playing in the Premier League makes it very tough for the Australian boys in those physical challenges. But just on that flat back four scenario, Raul Blanco is determined that Brett Emerton in particular should run at his opponents tonight. That's really what he's looking for from Emerton. Oh, here's a chance for Australia now. Aloisi, Ross Aloisi. Bosnich called into action. Not a difficult save, but a save nonetheless, as Stam was forced to back off to pick up the run of Aurelio Vidmar, freeing up a little bit of space for Aloisi to take the shot. Again, sharp work. Weirman. And United on the back foot momentarily. Quickly Yorke to Just outnumbered there in the corner. Australia have plenty of men behind the ball as Henningberg lofts it through looking for Nicky Butt, but Alex Tobins thrives on balls like that played into his penalty area. Now a chance for Emerton to run at his man. Outside him is Aloisi. Aurelio Vidmar involved. And we're ready for Aloisi to go, so he goes back to Tobin. Emerton already looking livelier than he did the other night, certainly more involved in the game. Steve McLaren, the Manchester United coach, on the left-hand side there, with a pen on paper. I'm sure he has to give strict reports to Alex Ferguson on how the team is doing here in Australia. No sign of Alex Ferguson coming to Australia. He's got some important things to sort out back in Manchester, and I would suggest that one of them would be his captain's contract. Roy Keane wants to break the United wages structure with his next contract. Alex Ferguson has stayed home to take part in sorting that out if he can. As Emerton goes at Irwin, great run, but it's gone out. But certainly more of what Rob Blanco is looking for. Quarter of an hour gone here at the Olympic Stadium. Phil Neville on the ball, closed down very quickly by Stan Lazaridis. Well, if Stan Lazaridis is carrying some kind of injury, there was no sign of it there as he stretched for that one, and Nicky Butt is surging forward, and that's a foul. Well, Wehrman is certainly putting himself about in the middle of the midfield.
And I don't blame him, really. That's what the Australian crowds are looking for. That's what disappointed a lot of people when we had that World 11 against the Socceroos. There just wasn't that bite there. Casey Wehrman's playing for his place at the Olympics, and he's not going to let anybody take it away from him. He's doing a great job at the moment. He's getting himself forward. He's allowing Danny Tiato to play a bit further forward. Remember, Man United are playing 4 at the back. The Socceroos are playing 3 up front. And they're getting support from the midfield as well. That's what's causing the problems.
And Aurelio Vidmar looking for the run from Danny Tiato, and that was a very deep cross. Rob Blanco will be well pleased with the start that his side has made here this afternoon. The changes so far have been an outstanding success. Wehrman well involved in the game. Ross Aloisi asked to do more of a holding role in midfield in today's game to allow Wehrman to go forward and join in. Phil Neville closed down very quickly as well. Australia are certainly applying more pressure to Manchester United, but they've broken the shackles here and have Giggs free down the left-hand side. The early cross is easy for Petkovic. There's a bit more of an open feel about tonight's game, or this afternoon's game as well, Paul.
Yeah, very much so. It's interesting to watch the two Manchester United forwards work. So often they move themselves into a midfield position, which allows a little gaps in behind. I suppose Dwight Yorke makes a run into the midfield. Andy Cole's on his own up front, and he's got a huge amount of space to attack.
Well, the promoter for the Manchester United tour is the well-known stockbroker Rene Rivkin. He had the United players on his boat last night, entertaining them. No sign that they overindulged at all. They've looked very much the part in the opening 16 to 17 minutes. It's a good tight contest so far, as Dwight Yorke It drops deep into midfield, and Nicky Butt goes forward. Giggs. Yorke again. And Tobin. So difficult to beat in the air. And Weirman. Well, he's a real tiger in the tackle. Before the game, when I spoke to Raul Blanco, he did say that he felt that the best chance to beat Manchester United was in the first game at the MCG, when they were just a little bit jaded after their trip. But after the start the decider's made so far here this afternoon, he may be willing to change his thinking. Yep, Stam, the Dutch international, came off the back of a really tough year, and he was playing in Holland. Then he played in the World Cup for Holland. Straight after Holland's final game, about 4 days later, he had to report for pre-season training at Manchester United. So it's a long time since he's had a break of 3 or 4 weeks, which he's just recently enjoyed. Tiato. Mark Wilson, the number 4, one of 2 young boys who started on Thursday night. He stayed in the side. Jonathan Greening was replaced by Jordi Cruyff on the right-hand side. Aloisi just protecting the ball there. Weirman just finding a metre of space for himself with a little dummy. Everton shoved off the ball by Jaap Stam, who is deceptively big. He really is quite a strong man. As Labert, and Fox turns away nicely. And Australia breaking now, with Tiato going forward. Azaridis, Tiato in space inside, but he slipped. And Frank Farina has got some comments from the touchline.
Yeah, the Australians have started very well, I feel, especially in the middle of the park with Weirman. Every time he seems to get the ball, they look very dangerous.
In danger here as Neville plays it over. And it was Andy Cole just trying to play a slip little ball through to Ryan Giggs there. And Australia, Frank, it does have to be said, have hardly had a troublesome moment in defence.
That's true. They've done very well. Obviously, they've been going forward, so it makes it a lot easier at the back for the team. But I still feel Emerton has to come into the game a lot more. He's playing a role which possibly is a little bit unfamiliar to him. But we've got to get him involved a lot more in the game, because at the moment he's not playing to his strength, and that's running at people and getting the ball played into space behind him.
Well, Danny Tiato has certainly been running at some people and making his presence felt on the park. He's such a busy player, and he went down under that challenge there. He said he's had to just temper his natural temperament when he went to England. He's a real fiery character. Vidmar. Azaridis, little ball, the flag's down. Tiato's in the area. Nowhere really for him to go, though. He was facing away from goal. Danny Tiato plays in Manchester for the other Manchester club, Manchester City, who've recently just got promoted to the first division. That's the division below Manchester United. He was the only Australian player that the coach, Steve McLaren, had actually heard of when they came to Australia. Wilson touching it off to Neville. Australia certainly marking very well and closing down the space very well. United forced back yet again. Now there's a little bit more room to operate on the left with Dennis Irwin. Fox willing to back himself. He's such a confident player. He only got caught out once the other night, and Dwight Yorke anticipated what he was going to do and stole the ball off him, but the rest of the time, and that was classy work from Tiato. He really is back in the fold for Australia as Lazaridis looks to take on Phil Neville, and it's an Australian ball. And here is Tiato. Manchester United have just got the 4 competitive games that they will play on the Australasian tour. And it's back to England, one charity game or testimonial game, and that's a great ball over the top for Cole, but he just couldn't bring the ball down and take it on the run as well. After those 5 games, it's straight into the Charity Shield against Arsenal on August the 1st. The following week, the Premier League begins again on August the 8th. Giggs, straight to Weirman. Quickly moves it forward to Tiato. And Giggs turning away. That's a clever ball. Danger here for Australia. 1-0 Manchester United. As simple as that for Dwight Yorke. Well, they really just preyed on an Australian mistake, and as soon as it came, they were quite lethal with the finish. Lost in midfield, played through by Giggs. Dwight Yorke was just the goalkeeper to beat, and he easily found the near post.
Yeah, it's criminal for a goalkeeper to beat on the near post. It's almost as if Jason Pekovic sold himself just that little bit too early, but have a look at the ball from Ryan Giggs. That's why Manchester United are so successful. The understanding between the midfielders and the forwards, spot on.
Well, disappointed that Australia have dropped the goal, Frank Farina.
Yeah, but look where we lost the ball. We lost the ball in our defensive third. I just don't think we should be risking playing. If you look at that movement there for the goal, the ball was lost 3 times, I think twice by Australia and once by Man United, and you cannot lose possession of the ball in that third and expect to go unpunished.
Well, Petkovic, calm as you like there, coming out to head the ball. Now time for Ross Aloisi to turn. He's got Tiato free down the left-hand side. Aurelio Vidmar through the middle. Stam there. Well, if Yapstam does get to the ball first, there's no way you'll push him off the ball. Yorke, the goal scorer, touching it inside now to Dennis Irwin. And Mickey Butt, clever turn. Right up on the last man, the flag's up, that'll be offside. Well, Ryan Giggs' ball was a delight, but Australia was stretched at the back. Labour caught unawares by the run from Dwight Yorke, and as simple as that, it's in the back of the net. Lazaridis. Oh, that's a brilliant move by Australia. Aurelio Vidmar into the area. Bosnich can't grab it with his hand, and he just hacks it away for a corner. Well, very, very slick work by Australia. Aurelio Vidmar just needed an extra metre, and he would have had a shot in on goal. It was a great ball through. Neville was there, and Bosnich couldn't pick it up. They certainly caused more problems for United in defence in the first half an hour or so than on Thursday night. Tiato can't keep that one in. And all coming down the left-hand side again, waiting.
Yeah, Danny Tiato and Stan Lazaridis, when they run at this Manchester United defence, they don't have cause problems. I mean, they are a good football side defensively. They're well organised, but one-on-one, they have looked a little bit susceptible this afternoon.
Well, here's Ross Aloisi trying to go through. And Dennis Irwin breaking free down the left for Manchester United, but there's a little bit of needle creeping into the game. Plenty of words exchanged off the ball there, in particular Phil Neville and Danny Tiato. Andy Cole losing out there. We've hardly seen him so far tonight as Aurelio Vidmar goes down. Well, that goal was Dwight Yorke's 30th goal in 54 games for Manchester United. That is an incredible strike rate. I get the feeling, though, that a goal for Australia would lift their confidence so much. As Fox again mishits his free kick. Second chance for him, Hayden Fox, going on a run on his own. Only Vidmar in the centre. There's a player down for Australia, but they're on the attack, and they have a corner. And Simon Colosimo is in real trouble by the look of things. Well, it was the clash there with Andy Cole. We'll take another look. Yes, the studs catching Colosimo on the side of the leg. Let's just hope it's not too bad for the outstanding young Carlton player. He went down very heavily. And Simon Colosimo is in big trouble. There's no doubt he'll be stretched off. It's just a case of whether he'll be okay to come back on or not. And Raul Blanco is not taking any chances. He's talking to his squad to warm up. Jacob Burns, a possible replacement for him, as we take another look there, just on the knee of Simon Colosimo. The studs of Andy Cole there. Look at that. Well, gee, that looked bad. Let's hope it isn't too serious for Simon. It's Australia 0, Manchester United 1. And there's a little bit of action going on the park as well. The players are all gathered together as Tiato's involved. And Dwight Yorke wants to say a few things as well. Now, Andy Cole has been called over to Simon Micallef about that challenge. Danny Tiato is there as well, and he's been in the thick of things in so many ways in this game. Well, it doesn't look like there's any olive branch being offered by either of the two players. Tiato and Cole both presenting their case to Simon Micallef, who's really judge and jury. His decision is final.
I think that all happened because Danny Tiato let Andy Cole know exactly what he felt about that challenge. It was crude, and the referee didn't do anything about it. So Danny Tiato went over to tell Andy Cole exactly what he thought. And from then, everybody got involved.
Well, back to the action. It's the corner for Australia. And Danny Tiato with the left foot to take it. Bosnich stays on his line. Just wasn't there for Weirman to hit, but here's a chance for Fox, who will try his luck. Well, great idea, but offside. It's Australia 0, Manchester United 0. Weirman is a free man outside. And Jacob Burns, the substitute. Here's Fox forward into midfield for the first time in the game. Lazaridis calling for it on the left, touched off to Aloisi. Tiato is free, the flag's down. Tiato will reach it. It's a deep cross, Burns is there. It's a corner to Australia.
Again, it was similar to Thursday night when the Socceroos start to switch that play and do it very quickly. They can catch this Manchester United team out. Stan Lazaridis has been hugging this left touchline, and Danny Tiato's working hard inside him. That seems to be the outlet at the moment for the Socceroos.
Well, their fourth corner of the game. And that tells the story in itself. As Tiato comes across to take it, Bosnich will find that very easy. Easy take for the Australian national team goalkeeper, Frank Farina. What are your thoughts on where we're at? Just a few minutes to go before the break.
Well, I think that was the first time Hayden Fox has actually pushed through, and we spoke about it earlier that, you know, he starts to cause problems when he comes through the two big defenders, and he created the extra man there, and we got a good chance.
Well, Fox in the action there. We were talking about that before the game, weren't we, Frank, about how often we'd see Hayden Fox coming through with the ball into midfield.
Well, that's right. It throws them off because it gives them a man who hasn't been in there, and he suddenly appears, and someone's got to pick up, and it makes it very difficult for the midfield.
Well, Australia in control with Aloisi, switching it wide to Jacob Burns. Good play from the Socceroos. Emerton trying to take it on the run. Now free on the right-hand side, Jordi Cruyff. He has got a ton of space to move into. Lazaridis is caught forward. Yorke and Cole are there as well. Cruyff goes on his own. Fox just backed out of the tackle there, just wary of giving away a penalty. And Tiato certainly didn't. Touched on, Cole's in there, loose ball, straight at Pekovic. Well, it wasn't an easy chance for Andy Cole, but he's scored from more difficult ones in his career, without a doubt. Yorke, Giggs, ripping it across, no one there. Well, certainly both sides have ironed out a few wrinkles since the other night. It's been a much more impressive performance, not only from Australia, but from Manchester United as well.
I think it was that passage of play that demonstrates exactly why Manchester United are so dangerous. You've got strikers dropping into midfield positions, and when they do, the midfielders take up striking positions, and if you're a defensive unit, you don't really like to be dragged anywhere, so you stay and end up not doing any job at all. That's where they create room for themselves.
Really a Vidmar. Good play. Tiato trying to just nudge it down the line early, straight into the face of Philip Neville. That won't do anything for their relationship. Tiato touched it on. Well, he's had about twice as many touches as any other player, Danny Tiato, but Emerton will try his luck. Well, the angle was very tight, but he's had so few chances. Brett Emerton went straight for goal, not on his stronger side. Around 6 minutes of normal time to go before the break here at Stadium Australia. As Simon Colosimo's injury set us back 3 or 4 minutes, I'd suggest. Still waiting for a progress report on Simon. Aloisi is progressing himself through the midfield, and Stan Lazaridis is going with him. Aloisi will try his luck. No, he just tried to thread the ball through to Aurelio Vidmar. The flag stayed down. By half a expected him to have a cracking goal then. And Stam pushing into midfield with the ball. You don't see that too often. Butt, the goal scorer from the other night. Doesn't get too many goals. Nicky Butt, he's not seen as one of the goal-scoring midfielders that United seems to have in abundance. That was his 17th goal for Manchester United the other day in over 200 games. Giggs lays it back for Wilson. Yorke. That's a great challenge. Emerton skips past his man. 3 players forward for Australia. Emerton prepared to go all the way on his own. Well, they were the instructions from Raul Blanco. Run at the defence. Well brought down by Aloisi there on his head. Lazaridis nudges it forward for Tiato. Aloisi again, Tiato again. Oh, that's a great turn. Selling 2 United players up the river. Ross Aloisi, brilliant. Lazaridis forward. Good opening this for Australia. Touched on. Lazaridis is through. Something here. Bosnich, great save. It's not over yet though. Here's Ross Aloisi, chipping it in, touched off by Weirman. And Yorke just touches off to Wilson, and Australia now forced to backpedal very quickly indeed. But that was just outstanding play by the Socceroos. And that was very dangerous play.
Well, if we had any doubts about the Socceroos, or the Olyroos as we like to call them, not doing us proud next year, then I think it's all been dispelled in the first 45 minutes of this game.
As Giggs takes the free kick and Tiato gets there and Petkovic is all on his own. Well, Raul Blanco was determined that his side would really have a go at Manchester United in this match. And that's exactly what they've done. Just a couple of minutes away from the break. That sharp turn comes in from Andy Cole. Dwight Yorke and Andy Cole have got this telepathic understanding, but we haven't seen too much of it so far. Yeah, and that's a clever ball. Aloisi through, looking for Aurelio Vidmar, but couldn't find him. Well, the cutting edge for Australia has been sharpened considerably in the 3 days between the 2 games. On Simon Colosimo is there is no news really. It's just a little bit early to diagnose how severe his injury is. We'll try and keep you posted if there are any changes to that. Certainly the fact that he had to go off instantly is not promising, but we'll wait and see. As Everton plays it in behind, Jacob Burns always a willing chaser. Butt goes back to Jaap Stam. Fox into the back of Cole there, but it was a clean challenge according to the referee. One of the great things about Hayden Fox, Wayne, is as well as his delightful touch and skill on the ball, he's tough as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's really backing up Alex Tobin and Stephen Laban physically, but his vision is something that I'm very impressed with.
Oh, great cross, Lazaridis, Stam was there. Neville just prepared to clear his lines. Confirmation on Simon Colosimo that it's damaged left knee ligaments for him. Ligament trouble can be dangerous. Have to wait and see on a time for his recovery. He's a player who was on the verge of signing for a big club in Europe as well, so it's a tragedy for him. Bayern Munich reportedly to be interested, as well as Blackburn Rovers in England, though priority now is to get him back on the pitch. As Weirman, too tough for Nicky Butt there, and that's not easy to save or do. As Weirman is forward, Emerton scuttling down the right-hand side. Paul, we're about 2 minutes away before the half-time whistle is blown. What are your thoughts on the first 45?
Well, they need a good blowout, Manchester United. They're certainly getting that today. I think they're really troubled by the running power of the Olyroos, Socceroos, whatever you want to call them. Every time Lazaridis, Danny Tiato, and now Brett Emerton get hold of the ball, they run at the first defender. Once you do that and you beat him, it causes problems for everybody else because they've got to cover for him.
This is a very dangerous ball here. Jason Petkovic. Well, he's going on a run. Now he's well out of his goal. Yorke. Well, that was a real heart flutter for the Australians. That pass was played through. Petkovic getting his eye on the ball, and it just stuck on his foot as well. Just look at the amount of red shirts in the crowd that we've got here. Touched on, Giggs chasing hard, Tobin trying to see the ball out, but he's touched it now. Ryan Giggs has been kept very quiet by that right-hand side of the Australian team, and Raul Blanco and Steve McLaren have both seen improved performances from their sides today. And there is the half-time whistle, and there's just one goal in the opening 45 minutes. It came from Dwight Yorke, and the score at half-time is Australia 0, Manchester United 1. The second half is underway here at Stadium Australia. Manchester United a goal ahead after Dwight Yorke's strike. It was a very, very well finished goal, but Australia off to a very good start in the second half, going for goal themselves, and another corner. Their fifth of the game, and it was Ross Aloisi. Ironically, not his first shot on goal either, Ross Aloisi. He's been asked to play the holding role for Raul Blanco in midfield, but he's managed to get forward himself on a number of occasions. Australia barely made an error in the first half, but they did make one, and the ball finished up in the back of the net. And Ross Aloisi now takes the corner for the Socceroos. Plenty of green shirts forward. Tobin at the near post, Laban there as well, but that is a piece of cake for Mark Bosnich. Not even a challenge on the Australian goalkeeper. Tiata, stopped by Phil Neville. Stamp forward. Cole bringing it down, and Fox High on the ball all the way. Not only a strong challenge, but a very clean challenge as well. As we see here, the timing of the tackle was quite perfect. And we're ready to go. Burns right behind Giggs. Irwin forward. And well anticipated by Tobin, and Weirman takes over. Oh, and that's great play by Casey Weirman there. Just a couple of little turns away from his man, and he had all the time that he needed. The ball has broken very nicely to Lazaridis, who's got some room to move it down that left-hand side, running at Phil Neville, and getting across him as well. Off the right foot this time, Emerton's there, touching it down, Weirman, straight to Dennis Irwin. United have their own chance to show what they can do on their counter-attack. It's Jordy Cruyff through the centre. Pushing the back on Lazaridis. No sign at all of the injury problem that Stan Lazaridis had before the game. The news not so good on Simon Colosimo though, knee ligament damage to him. There's been a lot of fuss in England about Manchester United's congested fixture list coming up for the next season, so perhaps just a little bit surprising that they've come to the other side of the world for a pre-season game. It's all part of spreading the Manchester United gospel around the world and spreading the Manchester United brand as well into all corners of the globe.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that Alex Ferguson has maybe put up front that the English Premier League should have a winter break, as they do in a number of countries in Europe. And I suppose from a Socceroos point of view, that would be a great thing, because we could invite our Socceroos back to play against quality opposition. Whether it happens or not is another thing.
Sepp Blatter, the head of FIFA, wants exactly that. He wants to revamp the whole world of football. He's going to come up against some stiff opposition in the strongholds of Europe. Throw into Manchester United. The ball broke very nicely for Andy Cole. Laban going with him all the way and fighting all the way as well. Good courage from the young Brisbane player, really sticking to his man. But early ball from him. Bekovic will get there. Well, Steve Laban and Andy Cole really having a go at each other there. All challenges bordering right on the edge of what's legal. Giggs just let it run straight to Jacob Burns. William Vidmar in space down the right-hand side. That's a nice ball from the youngster. Stan, so strong. Raul Blanco screaming out instructions as we take another look at that challenge by Stam on Vidmar. The news from the United bench is that Teddy Sheringham and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer are warming up. Adrian Santrak assisting Raul Blanco along with Les Scheinflug. Cruyff. Irwin. Giggs trying to play it early for the run of Dwight Yorke, who's been taking up some fairly deep positions in midfield and then joining in the attack a bit later on. He's one of the few Manchester United players who have been to Australia before. straight into Yorke. Always smiling, Dwight Yorke, especially when he's scoring, and he's bagged one already today. Just the intensity of the game just seems to have dropped off a little bit after the first half. Tiato finds Lazaridis. Tobin. Burns has got a lot of room to move into if he wants to, but Tobin goes long looking for Aurelio Vidmar. He's all on his own then. Pressured all the way by Emerton, and complaints from Dennis Irwin about that. He must get much more than that week in, week out in the Premier League, you would think. Cole bringing in Phil Neville, a real utility man of the Man United squad. Oh, look at the space here for Cole. Just tried to poke it through the gap to either Jordy Cruyff or Dwight Yorke. I thought it was quite amazing, Wadey, that Andy Cole didn't warm up before a game. It's got to be unusual.
Well, yes, indeed. Although a lot of people in Australia would probably know Frank Harrop, the former Socceroo coach, who said, well, you never see horses putting their legs up on the fence before a big race, especially at the Melbourne Cup. I'm not quite sure I agree with that point of view, but certainly, you know, there are players... Alfie Langer didn't used to do any warm-ups either, so I don't know, maybe there is something in it.
Well, Andy Cole will probably tell you that he is a thoroughbred. I remember in the last World Cup final when Ronaldo was injured before the match, the whole team didn't warm up before a World Cup final, and I found that astonishing. McLaren, happy that the decision went his team's way. It was offside there. Yorke and Weirman having a go. Which way will the decision go? In favour of the Manchester United player. Well, Weirman clattered into Yorke. He didn't really like it. It was all arms and legs. Well, I don't think either player will be too upset with that challenge from their opponent. Jordy Cruyff now finds Giggs in some space. Outside him goes Irwin. Giggs uses the decoy to best effect. Burns trying to stick with him. Cruyff through the middle. Oh, great save, Petkovic. Well, it opened up quite strangely there. All of a sudden Jordy Cruyff was through on the goalkeeper with plenty of men back. It was Giggs again with the supply line. Fox was on the wrong side of his man. Cruyff got round him and Petkovic used the left foot. And Weirman now, the goalkeeper's off his goal line. That's a great try. Well, from more than 45 metres out, Casey Weirman tested Mark Bosnich there, making sure that he's very much on his toes. And it was quick thinking by Casey Weirman. And Bosnich backpedaling all the way, and it would have gone right in the top-hand corner. And a man who knows all about the quality of Casey Weirman is Frank Farina.
Well, definitely, it was a great strike by Casey. Good vision, but I feel the Australians have lost their way a little bit. It's since the second half started, we haven't looked penetrative in attack, I don't feel anyway. And possibly there could be a change coming up with Clayton Zane. There's a chance he could be coming in. I think it's a very, very good move by Raul Blanco.
Well done, that's it. Well done.
It's Australia 0, Manchester a little taller today after their performance in the first match. It's not classified as a full A international for the Australian players because the opposition is a club team and not a national team. Cole did well to get to the ball before Labour there, and he was fouled afterwards. He's got a bit to say about that decision, which didn't go in his way. You can see here he got there before Labour, and Labour... There's no doubt that that was a free kick for Manchester United, but... I know it's been a comment in the past, Paul, that our referees are too fair. There's not too many hometown decisions when you come to Australia. So.
No, that's very true. Very true indeed. And any decisions we can get like that, we'll take gladly. One thing I will say about the Socceroos is that they seem to have gone back into their shell because they're not taking the chances with Brett Emerton pushing up and Danny Tiato as well.
And there is confirmation. Over 78,000 here today. Wilson tangling with Weirman. It's a Manchester United ball. It's taken quickly. Here's Phil Neville. Low ball in behind, and it's a corner to Manchester United. The first of the game, and it's taken over an hour to come, which is a real credit to the way Australia have defended here today. Ryan Giggs comes across to take the corner. Clayton Zane is still stretching, ready to come on. No signs of any changes for Man United. Giggs with the corner. Petkovic stays on his line. There was a free man at the back post. It was Henning Berg forward from the back. And a let off there for Australia. And Aurelio Vidmar's got away from his man. This is looking promising for the Socceroos. It's Jacob Burns who's up there with him. But the speed of the recovery was quite outstanding. Yep, Stam again. Well, if you do get past him, and that in itself is a feat, there is no doubt that he will be snapping at your heels an instant. And just too many numbers there for Aurelio Vidmar to get past. Matt Wilson in attendance as well. As well as Matt Bosnich, there is another Australian connection, possibly linked as Butt goes through. Possibly linked with Manchester United. Rupert Murdoch tried to buy the club last season, but his move was blocked by the British Monopolies Board because of Murdoch's interests in B-Sky B, and that's offside by a long way. Though Aurelio Vidmar doesn't agree with me. Perhaps a metre or so in it with the hindsight of a replay, which is always easier. As Cole holds off Tobin, plays it to Nicky Butt. Paul, it looks certain that Clayton Zane will be coming on for Australia. It's only a matter of time. He's been warming up for about 20 minutes. What are your thoughts on what will happen in attack?
Well, I agree with Frank Farina. It's a very good choice, and the reason is because I think because the players are starting to get tired now, that ability to run into spaces is starting to get lesser and lesser of an option. Whereas Clayton Zane likes to receive the ball to feet. He can stand up there alongside Yapstam, and he can actually come off. Then the midfielders don't have to make such a run. They can support from a midfield area. That is a crude tackle in my book.
Well, all the studs were shown from Dwight Yorke. Right into the shin of Hayden Fox. Emerton. Wearman again. Australia prepared to back themselves. Playing out at the back like that, and wisely so. This is a very good move for Australia. Little ball over the top for Burns is brilliant. Emerton was there. Not far away from the Socceroos, and Lazaridis picks up the pieces. And the flag's gone up for offside. Well, Ross Aloisi on the far side there, just too far forward. But what a great move that was by Australia. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is coming on for Manchester United, and he's replacing the man in the centre of midfield in Mark Wilson. So there'll be somewhat of a reshuffle for Manchester United. I'd say that Dwight Yorke would be the one to drop back into a midfield role with Nicky Butt in the holding position. Allowing Solskjaer to go up and attack with Andy Cole. Was dangerous. Remember mistakes and how they're punished. There's Andy Cole. Well, the lesson was there to be learnt in the first half, but because I think, Wadey, the way they played out of the defence a couple of moments ago was just delightful. They took a chance again and almost paid the price.
Well, when the Socceroos get it right, they look good and they look confident, but to play against Manchester United and try it all the time, you get punished. And this was what, a foot?
Lazaridis on the game down the left. Well, he may be able to keep up with Stan Lazaridis, but if he stops, there's no way you can stop as well, and that was what Jordy Cruyff found out there. Real pressure now. Manchester United closing down very quickly indeed. To the back there of Danny Tiato by Dennis Irwin. Well, he thought he could see the ball, and he did actually get a foot on the ball. It's still classified as a challenge from behind. Switch of play from Hayden Fox. Clever thinking from him. Lazaridis prepared to go at Cruyff. And there is a foul, almost identical to the last one. Jordy Cruyff is not a regular in the Manchester United setup, and in fact even last year he was loaned out to a club in Europe just to give him some games. Steve Labert has enjoyed the taste of playing against top-class players as Steve McLaren there prepares to make another change. Australia forward, Emerton. Free on the left is Tiato. Wearman's in the centre, Burns is joining in as well as Tiato goes outside him. He's got past his man, it's a good pullback. Here's Burns. Well, it wasn't an easy chance by any stretch of the imagination, especially for a young man. I'm sure his heart was pumping as he took that shot. But Danny Tiato had too much in the tank for Phil Neville there. Pulled it back, it was a good one. Wearman slipped, Burns just had to check back before he was forced wide. Lazaridis again. This time he goes on his own, pulling it back. Burns again, still Burns. And Giggs waiting for it. Well, the crowd is warming up to this Aussie thrust forward that they're showing in the last few minutes. Fox, as Burns going outside, that's a brilliant ball. Australia 0, Manchester United. Right-hand side roll from Jordi Cruyff. He's been kept very quiet. Solskjaer to Yorke, who looks equally at home in the centre of midfield as he does in the centre of the attack. Greening with an early chance to impress. Yorke. Sharp turn from him. He appeared to be off balance. He's balanced himself on top of the ball. Now, opening here for Australia. The ball given away very uncharacteristically by United on the halfway line. Everton with a chance to run at Dennis Irwin. Fox now playing in front of the back two. Frank, we talked before the game about Hayden Fox playing in front of the two markers at the back, and it appears he's just starting to do that a bit more now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, they have to. I mean, they're 1-0 down. I think Hayden Fox has got to start to try and push forward a little bit more. And I'm surprised they've left it so long to make the substitution. I think Clayton Zane, they have to get him on there and try and free up Aurelio Vidmar coming in from behind. But there's still 25 to go, so hopefully it won't be too long.
Well, Vince Grella set to come on for Australia ahead of Clayton Zane, which is a little bit surprising. Clayton Zane still stretching up. This is Grella's third appearance for the Socceroos when he comes on. 6 months in Serie A with Empoli have really boosted his progress as an international player quite considerably. Came back after his time in Italy, looking a completely different player. And Teddy Sheringham also set to come into the fray as well. And it's Andy Cole who'll be making way for Teddy Sheringham. Manchester United player wearing number 15 today. Who will forget the finish to Teddy Sheringham's season as Andy Cole takes a seat. Vince Grella about to come on for the Socceroos as well as Clayton Zane, so it's a double substitution. It's still just unclear who'll be coming off. Casey Weirman, it looks like, will be one of them. It's Ross Aloisi actually and Brett Emerton who are making way for Zane and Grella. There's around 18 minutes left in the second half. If Australia are to find a goal against Manchester United. Weirman going inside. Zane's first touch is a good one. Oh, and great run forward by Nicky Butt. Sheringham guiding it in for Giggs. Well, just enough done with that challenge there by Casey Weirman, who's covered every blade of grass for the Australian side tonight. And the lights have come on at Stadium Australia as Grella goes forward, and that's a great ball for Danny Tiato! Bosnich off his line superbly. And a super ball by Vince Grella to pick out the run from Danny Tiato. That first touch just a little bit too close to the goalkeeper. And if you give Bosnich half a chance, he will make the save. How did you see that one, Frank?
Well, I think it's a very positive move from Raul Blanco to bring on both Zane and Grella, and we saw what can be done now. And I think this last 20 minutes or last 15 minutes is going to be a very, very good period for Australia. Zane will hold the ball up all day, and you'll see a better Aurelio Vidmar than what we've actually seen. And that's not saying he's had a bad game, but he's in his natural position now, and I think he'll do very well there.
Look at the space here and the time to turn as well, but Fox's tackle was timed superbly, and Wehrman forward now. The Australian team just seems to have a little bit more zip in their stride as Fox brings Aurelio Vidmar into the game, but Irwin was there first. And another change for Manchester United. Michael Clegg is coming on for Philip Neville. It's getting a bit difficult to keep track of all of these changes. Phil Neville played in most parts of both games. Zane and Burns trying to get the better of Yap Stan, and they have done here. It's an Australian throw. Not a lot of room for Zane to operate in there, but he's a big man. And that's a corner to Australia. Paul Wade, just quickly your thoughts on the changes, Grella and Zane on?
Very good indeed. Vinnie Grella he can win a game in one pass, and that's what they need. And with big Clayton Zane up there as a target man, it's a perfect opportunity to hit him and have Aurelio Vidmar feeding off him.
Near post corner is a good one, just clipped away by Yorke there. And now Giggs with the whole park to run into, and he does, and he switches it superbly. Helping it on quickly to Clegg, who's tumbling to the ground. And Grella takes over for Australia. He's getting the feeling there's a little bit more to come in this game yet. Vidmar, that's a great touch on to Clayton Zane on the left foot. Well, he's been on the park just a few minutes, and it's probably an earlier look at goal than he expected to get, but it was a very good flick on by Aurelio Vidmar, opening things up for Zane. You don't get too many clear-cut chances against Manchester United. Clayton Zane certainly had one there. And Mark Bosnich didn't have a save to make there, and he makes his way off the park now. And Raymond van der Houw, the Dutchman, will take his place. And the whole stadium is applauding the national team goalkeeper. So 2 games in his second spell at Manchester United for Mark Bosnich, and 2 clean sheets for him. He'll be well pleased with the start he's made. The most exciting move of his career. Fox. Wehrman skipping away from Nicky Butt. That's a great bit of play from Casey Wehrman. And here's Lazaridis joining in, and there are Australian players streaming into the area. Here's Wehrman, leaving it for Burns, who tries his luck. Well, this time Jacob Burns didn't shirk the shot. But what a great sight that is, to see Lazaridis screaming down the left-hand side. And Grella's first-time ball found Jacob Burns.
That's the difference, isn't it, Paul? When Manchester United get a chance like that, they at least sting the goalkeeper's hands. The Olyroos, well, you know, in the past it's been our downfall. We need too many chances to score a goal. I'm sure Raul Blanco's got something now to work on in the next 12 months to get it all right for Sydney 2000.
Well, less than 10 minutes on the clock here at the Olympic Stadium. Zaridis, only player really to turn his back on his club and come back and play this match. Only European player, I should say, just to be fair to Aurelio Vidmar and Hayden Fox, who play for Hiroshima in Japan. Weirman has really come into his own in the second half. No room to operate at all in midfield, but he still finds a pass and finds a man. But Grella's given it away to Greening, and United have players coming forward. Dennis Irwin captaining Manchester United in Roy Keane's absence. Well, if the Socceroos are going to find a goal against Manchester United, they haven't got too long to come up with it. Have been knocking on the door now for the entire game, really. They really created more chances than United in the first half. Just seemed to a bit more left in the tank than the opponents tonight. To come away with a 1-1 draw would be a very, very good result indeed. It's Australia 0, Manchester United 1. Solskjaer. That's a great little clip over the top from going through the centre. Well, now, what's the decision there? It was certainly in the area. But Jonathan Greening went down very heavily indeed. And we'll take another look here as Burns came in.
Well, I tell you, I'd have to give this as a free kick. Whether it's a penalty, no, I think it was outside the 18-yard box, a yard outside, but definitely a free kick.
Well, that's an Australian throw, and somewhat of a let-off for the Socceroos there as Jacob Burns came across. It was great covering by Burns. He did brilliantly to make up all that ground to get across to the other side. The challenge was just a little clumsy.
One thing that has been evident in this game for Man United is the lack of width. We haven't had Ryan Giggs take on too many players out wide. We had Jordi Cruyff on the other side. He didn't take too many players either. And Steve McLaren, the coach of Manchester United, said before the game that the ground is not wide enough, which is very interesting because Alex Ferguson loves to play with David Beckham and Ryan Giggs out wide taking players on.
It was an interesting comment about the pitch not being wide enough. I mean, to me, there doesn't look anything wrong with the width of the pitch. Just look at the distance between the penalty area and the touchline, and there's plenty of room there. Yorke to Butt. He won't get there, and it's a goal kick. And Australia will make another change very shortly. Michael Kasija from South Melbourne is likely to be the next change for them. Dwight Yorke, the number 10 for Manchester United, the only goal of the game from him so far. Nicky Button very quickly on Casey Weirman. Grella fouling his man. And then helping him up. Teddy Sheringham going down. And a fine moment this for Michael Kasija. His first appearance for the Australian senior national team. He's been an under-20 international and an Olympic international. And Aurelio Vidmar goes off, and we see there Vince Grella's challenge there when he just left that foot in way too long. Back. Yorke, Sheringham, back to Yorke. Tobin's clearance wasn't the best. Greening! Oh, Yorke was in the centre but just couldn't finish it off. And it was a mistake by Alex Tobin really that let in Jonathan Greening here. As we saw in the first half, mistakes are something you cannot afford against this calibre of opposition. Oh, Zane, that's a great knockdown. Jumped against two men there. We're just on 3 minutes remaining. Dark clouds looming over the Olympic Stadium. And perhaps some over the Socceroos here as Teddy Sheringham has the ball whipped off his toes by Casey Weirman. Came from nowhere. Lazaridis, Kasija, Grella to Weirman. Some first-time football from Australia. A little ball over the top. It was aimed for Clayton Zane. Here's Ryan Giggs. He's hardly had a touch of the ball in the second half. Trying to make up for it now with one run. He's still going. Oh, brilliant play from Giggs. Look at that. Well, he's hardly been in the game, but when he did come in, it was worth the wait. And look at this for Australia. Clayton Zane going in on goal. Have a go. He does. Well, his intentions were crystal clear as soon as Zane got the ball. He missed a chance earlier on because he didn't strike cleanly at goal, but he wasn't going to do the same here. One touch, and he hammered it.
He had every right to have a go at that one. There was 3 or 4 waiting in the middle for a pass, but in a situation like that, he's got to take a strike on goal. It was yawning. But again, we didn't hit that target. Again, we've got to punish these teams by at least making the goalkeeper make a save.
Well, he's a serious-looking man at the moment, Steve McLaren. I'm sure the scoreline isn't as wide as he would have liked. Giggs, and we're going to see one more from him. We're running at Tobin, backpedaling his Burns. Giggs inside, that's easy for Fox. Good challenge from Grella, so strong. Tiato wriggling away from two. Well, the Australian version of Ryan Giggs with that little run from Danny Tiato. Here's Weirman. Zane just straight offside. Irwin fouls. Well, tired-looking challenge there from Casey Weirman, and who can blame him? We're into time added on here at the Olympic Stadium. Irwin said, don't have the legs to chase that either. 33 years old, Dennis Irwin. A decade at Manchester United, the most glorious decade in the club's history. That's in play. Zane will chase. Stamp will get there first. It's nice play from United. Ball through. Now Fox, still chance for something from Australia. Tiato in action, but he's fouled. Denny Tiato's stamina is quite phenomenal. He's still got the legs to run now. As we see that challenge by Yorke on him. To the third minute of time added on. Is there something left for the Socceroos? Another foul. Hardly any injury time in the second half as well, so it's now or never for Australia. As Fox just overhit the pass to Lazaridis. Something here. Lazaridis, Casilla waiting in the centre. Lazaridis going it on his own. Simon Mikolev just checking with his linesman. There's barely a few seconds left here. Now, Alex Tobin, the captain. United with almost everyone behind the ball. Burns, great little pass inside for Weirman. Man free on the left is Clayton Zane, the flag's up. Well, it would have been Zane's third look at the United goal. United did push up very quickly. They've been working all week at training on their offsides, and they just stood their ground there and let Australia push forward too much. It was offside, and the chance went begging. And the final score here is Manchester United 1, Australia 0. And the Socceroos huffed and puffed throughout the entire match, but couldn't blow the United goal down. And they were kept scoreless over both games, but certainly the Australian team grew in stature over the two matches. Clayton Zane had a couple of outstanding chances when he came on as a substitute, but it was a Dwight Yorke goal, and a very, very classy Dwight Yorke goal as well in the first half, which was the difference between the two sides here this afternoon. Hayden Fox was well in control most of the time at the back for the Australian team. He will have really thrived on this experience. But the Telstra man of the match is with Frank Farina right now.
Well, Telstra man of the match, Casey Weirman. Casey, fantastic game. What was the difference playing at this level than down at the Olympic level against normal Olympic sides?
I think just the quickness of the game. You know, these guys play 100 miles an hour, and if you don't know where your next ball's going, well, you're pretty much stuck, and if you start losing it back there, it's going to cost you goals.
You got a bit heated there at different occasions during the game. Much banter exchanged out in the field?
Oh yeah, you know, just just boys getting into it, I suppose, having a good time out there, and you know, we didn't want to let them come here and show us around their own park how to play, so they got away with 2 wins, but I think a spirited effort from the boys tonight, and we can help hold our heads up high.
Definitely, a few good chances created in the game there. A bit disappointing we couldn't finish one of them off.
Yeah, that was disappointing, but I think our final ball tonight was lacking. Everywhere else in the park, I thought we played very well. We moved the ball good, and we were sharp in the tackles and stuff. It was just our final ball that let us down, and maybe a little bit of confidence in front of goal.
Well done, mate, and good luck good luck with the future with the Olympics. Anyway.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Frank.
A stirring finish, but this was the difference between the two teams. Back at the 25th minute, Yorke getting on the end of one from Giggs and finishing so clinically Manchester United by 1-0 over Australia. But Paul, there was a lot to look forward to, I think, from both teams in the next 12 months.
Oh, yes, indeed. Alex Ferguson will be sitting back there thinking, I'm glad I did that, because that was a really good workout. I mean, if they thought playing against the Socceroos was going to be tough, imagine what the next 12 months is going to hold. People are going to be wanting to knock them off. It'll be like an FA Cup every week.
Terrific stuff. So in the end, Manchester United by 1-0. A reminder about the Davis Cup on 7, 3 a.m. Australian Eastern Time. At the moment, Australia leads the United States by 2 rubbers to 1. Rafter and Hewitt going for Australia this morning. Thank you for being with us. I think it's been a terrific exercise, but Manchester United's class coming through. Today's result, 1-0.